Hey friends, today I wanted to talk about centering prayer. And this is an ancient spiritual practice in the Christian tradition. And even if you grew up in some form of Christianity, depending on what your background is, it may be something that is unfamiliar to you. But it's basically the practice of letting go and of releasing, which we've really come to see as the key to spiritual growth of all traditions, this act of releasing. So it is the practice of letting go of control, of letting go of power, and of having to control the narrative or the story. And during this time of kind of having a reckoning, having a national conversation, really a conversation around the world about the destructive nature of racism and how deeply ingrained it is in so many of our cultures. Diane and I have talked about our place as white people needing to be a place of listening, needing to really adopt a posture of listening and openness and letting other people's voices come to the surface and be the leaders. And centering prayer can be really huge in this because it really helps us become receptive to the work of the Spirit in the world around us and to allowing the Spirit to work in us in the same way, and really being open to the work of love in the universe. So in Mercy Ministries, we have found that one of the most sacred things we do with orphanage survivors, one of the things we do that is the most rooted in our spirituality is to create a safe space for trauma survivors. So a space that's free from judgment, that's free from dogma, that's free from shame, and a space that allows our young people to really reconnect with their own preciousness and with their own goodness. And because we come from a faith tradition centered on the teachings of Jesus, we like to think of it as radical welcome. And we really try to practice radical welcome as Jesus himself practiced it. And as leaders, we have found that one of the things we really need to do in order to be able to do this work is to do a lot of practice in centering prayer in ways that help us release and let go of control. So today's going to be a little different than some of our other videos because I'm going to explain a little bit about how you do centering prayer, and if you want to try it out, then we'll let you continue that after the conclusion of the video. So centering prayer is basically sitting in the presence of God without an agenda and just practicing releasing over and over. And the minute you start doing it, you will find that all kinds of intrusive thoughts come in. Your to-do list that you want to get back to, things you're worried about, things maybe you haven't thought about in a while. And so it's really important to have a plan for how to address that. And some people like to have what they call a sacred word. And it's basically just a word you've decided upon ahead of time that you will say to yourself every time you find your mind wandering. It's really sacred just because of you using it in this form of centering prayer. It's not like it has to be a word that's super important to you or meaningful, or it's not magical or anything like that. It's just a word that you have picked. I like to focus more on breathing. And so whenever I find my mind wandering, I will focus on my breath and try to breathe in. I like to think of myself as breathing in God's love into my body and then breathing that love back out into the world. And that's what kind of brings my attention back. So I'll give you just a moment if you do want to practice this at the conclusion of the video, a moment to either decide, are you going to focus on your breathing, or are you going to pick a word that's going to be a way to help you bring your attention back. Okay, and I do want to say before we actually get started that some people can find this practice really activating. It can really stir up some emotions, memories, sensations, and in a way that you might find hard to deal with. And so if that's the case, if you're finding your nervous system, as you're just trying to sit so quietly, you're finding your nervous system feeling like it really just has a lot of energy that you don't know what to do with, then it may be better to focus on some of our other meditations that we have done videos on. They're a little bit more focused on your own senses, or on a particular object, or on something else in the room around you, because sometimes this kind of this practice of just being empty for a while can be a little bit too much. And so if you're finding as you do it, a lot of thoughts are coming in, and you're able to bring your attention back and let them go, just like clouds floating by, then that's great, and that is what happens to everybody. If you are finding it to be really uncomfortable, then I would say a better place to start would be on some kind of more mindfulness meditation that has more of a clear focus on it. I also want to say that the whole purpose of this is this practice of releasing. And so sometimes we can come away and say, wow, that was terrible. I am so not good at this. This is the one time of day when you don't have to be good at it. It's not about performance. It's not about getting better and better. If there are 1,000 times that you have to bring your attention back to just sitting quietly in the presence of the world and of God, then you had 1,000 chances to practice releasing, and that's what this is about. Okay, so we're actually going to start just by getting grounded, and I like to sit up comfortably but attentively, because it's not about sleeping, and with your feet flat on the ground so that you are connected to the earth and to all the other creatures and living beings on the earth. And if it's comfortable, you might want to have your hands in an open position on your lap, because this is just really a time of receptivity. And then just take 3 slow breaths, especially slow on the out breath, to just bring your attention to what we're focusing on. So I'll let you go ahead and breathe with me. And then it sometimes helps to set a timer so that you're not constantly worried about how much time has gone by or when you should stop. A lot of people do it for 20 or 30 minutes. 5 minutes, if you're just starting out, can seem like a really long time. So if you have your phone with you and you are intending to actually practice this, I'll give you a second to just set your timer. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and begin. And again, it's just about sitting quietly, and as thoughts come into your mind that that are kind of interrupting your quiet sitting, then just release them by remembering your sacred word or doing your breathing. And I'll go ahead and do the chime as a signal to begin. And after we've begun, I'll say goodbye, sneak out quietly, and we'll see you next time.